People who have visited the U.S. What is your What the F America story?
Guy took out a gun on my mate at a house party. From Australia and went to the US 3 years ago. Traveled with an English and Welsh guy I'd worked with and ended up staying with one of other colleagues who was from Buffalo. He threw a house party and the Welsh guy and I bought the grog. My god, your booze is cheap. Anyway, after sufficiently getting drunk enough, my Welsh mate and I ended up wrestling. Rules were you started on your knees and you won if you could rip the other person's sock off their foot. After a couple rounds I got tired and decided I wasn't drinking enough to live up to the Aussie reputation, so I called it. One of the Americans decided to challenge the Welsh guy, so I watched. Someone counted down and on go the American drew a Glock from his waistband underneath his shirt, pointed it at my friend and said, "Oh, I win." Everyone froze and then the guy put the Glock away and decided to keep partying. Us being the foreigners, we were just standing there going, what the fuck just happened? Turned out it was a practical joke, and he chose the Welshman because he was afraid me, being the Aussie, might actually do something rash about the gun. Good reputation to have, but fuck dealing with that shit. We got rid of our guns years ago because that's far too intense for us. Give me crocodiles and taipans any day. Hell, I'd take a drop bear.
On a trip through California, I found myself hitching a ride with an old lady in a pickup truck, accompanied by her massive companion. What started as a simple trip to LA turned into a captivating road trip filled with detours, heartfelt conversations, and a farewell that left an indelible mark. I'm English and visited California about a decade ago. We'd been staying in a small town called Mariposa while we visited Yosemite National Park for a couple of days. My friends had continued their road trip on to Vegas, while I had to head back down to LA and get the plane home. I was waiting for a bus to the station in Mariposa. It was raining, uncharacteristic for April, I was told. A pickup truck pulls up. The first thing I see is a huge dog sitting in the passenger side. Then an old lady, I'm guessing around 60, peers over and asks me, "Where are YA heading?" I told her I was going to LA, and she says, "Me too, get in," and starts pushing the dog into the back. Partly out of politeness, but mostly out of curiosity, I jumped in. I think it was around a 3 to 4 hour drive to LA. As we set off, she starts listing all the things we have to do before we get there. Visit her friend to move a trailer, visit another friend who has broken her ankles to feed her dogs, visit a place where she could do her taxes, that should only take a few hours. It was going to at least double the journey time. Now in my head I was saying, fuck no, I don't want to do any of that, but I found myself saying, okay. She was super happy. After about half an hour we arrived at her friend's house. She had 2 huge dogs and I found myself carrying an industrial-sized bag of dog pellets to fill a huge automatic feeder. While my new old lady friend went to use the bathroom, the slightly larger woman that owned the house showed me photos of her daughter and asked me what I thought of her. I said she was pretty, which wasn't a complete lie. She told me she didn't have a boyfriend and I nodded and smiled awkwardly. Then she said, "So you're going all the way down to LA with old lady friend, are you?" I saw my chance. Actually, I think it might be better if I get the train. Do you know when the next one is? Slightly large woman checked the train times. Then she hollered out, "Old lady friend. He needs to get the train. The next one's in 20 minutes. Old lady friend rushes, as fast as a 60-year-old can, back into the room, shows no signs of being perturbed, says we better get going then, and we quickly get in the truck. It looks as though we may miss the train. Old lady friend is literally speeding down the road. She turns to me all of a sudden and says, "Has anyone ever told you about Jesus?" I tell her yes, that my parents have told me all about him. That doesn't put her off giving me a little speech, and I don't say anything to stop her. I just smile and thank her. As we get closer to where the station is supposed to be, she winds down her window at some lights and shouts to a surprised dude on the street, "Where's the station?" before accelerating hard and speeding round the bend in the direction the guy pointed to. We get to the station and there's time to spare. There's a bit of a queue at the ticket booth and I say thanks, and take my place in line. After a few minutes I reach the front and buy my ticket. I turn towards the platform and feel a tap on my shoulder. Old lady friend is standing there, apple in hand, a big smile on her face. She presses the apple into my hands and places her hands around mine. She bends her head in prayer. What she said I can't remember, I was too busy looking at all the people staring at me, an old lady whose head barely reached my chest holding my hands. Amen. Without another word, she walks away. The train arrives and I leave.